Greetings, 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 greetings. It is I, your king, King Clifford Jefferson, a Senator Godfrey the Fifth Caliban Jew, son of folk, ruler of Jerusalem. I am the reincarnation, the personification, or the representation of what we know as Jesus Christ. So hold on for 1 second. Greetings.
Greetings, King Clifford Jefferson.
What's going on? No, I'm actually doing the video now.
Oh, okay. No, I was letting you know. Good job on the video from yesterday.
I appreciate it.
Just finished it up.
All right, I'm doing one now.
Okay, well, I'll see you on there soon.
Okay, no. Sorry about that. That was Archbishop. He'll be here shortly. Once again, I greet you in the name of King Edgar the Peaceful, which we know is Jesus Christ, which I am the reincarnation of. We know that he represents the image of Christ. I greet you on behalf of all our past noble family, those who are here and those who have passed, and those we will meet in the future. When we say the future, this is what everyone should be looking forward to, but the future is only based upon the past. All right, once again, I love you all. I try to make sure I don't hold you that long, but it's pretty much a camelback up off the last lesson that I just did. All those who want to be viewing this, please pay very close attention. This one is called the Book of Life, all right? The Book of Life, as well as the Resurrection of the Dead, and those who qualify to enter New Jerusalem, all right? This one is called the Book of Life, as well as those who inherit the estate we call New Jerusalem, which is on its way back, all right? And it has everything to do with what we call spaceships and things of that nature, all right? I'm gonna prove again today. All right, so without further ado, let's get started. It is now September 11th, 2023, and the birth year 2973. For all those who want to be viewing this lesson, I really hope that you take this lesson very seriously. You know, I'm going to try to explain it to you in the make you see it from the abstract point of view into a concrete point of view, using religious as well as geometry, a little bit of geometry, as well as whatever else comes out the bag. All right, you know, I diligently take my students very seriously, and all those who listen to me should take theirs as well, because this is your ticket home. All right, your name must be written in the Lamb's Book of Life. Your name must be written in the Lamb's Book of Life. Yes, the Book of Life. And our ancestors called liber, vitae, or the Book of Life. All right, so we'll be discussing that today. All right, so all those who are not familiar with my teachings, hold on, it's going to be a marvelous lesson. All right, and we're going to take back off from Revelations 21, verses 24 through 26, okay? Verses 21, 24 through 26. So that everybody get started. And we also want to talk about the noble named Æthelwold. You know, the noble named Æthelwold, which means, Æthel means noble and Ing means belonging to, all right? Once again, Æthelwold means noble and Ing means belonging to, all right? I spoke about this in my last lecture, so if you haven't watched my last lecture, before you watch this one, I suggest you watch my past one, all right? So let's get started. I give everybody a couple of minutes to get their things together as I get myself formulated here. As you can see, all things is done under our authority. This is our charter, all right? It's our charter, filed within the county for the record, all right, under the certificate of incorporation, which is the incorporation of all those rights that predate us, all right, which are now effective as a result of incorporation. Incorporation means personification. Personification means to incarnate. First page. Third Temple English Church. Third Temple English Church. This is the bride of Christ. All right. So if your name is not registered with the Third Temple English Church, i.e., the bride of Christ, then you will not inherit New Jerusalem. Once again, if your name is not written in the Book of Life, that's because you're not associated with the English Third Temple Church, which is Christ's bride. All right. We talked about that in my last lesson. We're going to prove it again today. All right, let's get started. Revelation 21, verses 24 through 27. I'll try not to speak too fast. I know I stutter a lot because I'm passionate and I speak fast. So forgive me. And there shall in no wise enter into it anything that defileth, neither whatsoever worketh abomination, or maketh a lie, but they which are written in the Lamb's book of life. This is your King James Version. All right, let's read the whole scripture or narrative. And the nations of them which are saved shall walk in the light of it. And the kings of the earth do bring their glory and honor into it. And the gates of it shall not be shut at all by day, for there shall be no night there. And they shall bring the glory and honor of the nations into it. And there shall in no wise enter into anything that defileth, neither whatsoever worketh abomination, or maketh a lie, but they which are written in the Lamb's book of life. Yes, the Lamb's book of life. I know each and every one of us are asking, what is he talking about? The Lamb's book of life. Because we read the abstract metaphor in chapter 24 to verse 27 in the King James Version Bible. All right. But the origin of the book of life that relates to the Lamb, i.e., Jesus Christ, goes back to the time era where the term originated from. All right. And the concrete, which we will visit today. The text of the book of Revelations, one of the books of the New Testament attributes to John of Patmos, refers to the book of life 7 times. There's the scriptures before you. As described, only those whose names are written in the book of life from the foundation of the world and have not been blotted out by the Lamb are saved at the last judgment. All others are doomed, and whoever was not found written in the book of life was cast into the lake of fire. Revelations 20, verse 15. King James Version. King James Version was written by, or is supposed to be under the auspices of, or in reference to particular Lord, i.e. king, called King James, the assumed king of England. All right. And I saw the dead, small and great, stand before God. And the books were open, and another book was open, which is the book of life. And the dead were judged out of those things which were written in the books, according to their works. Revelation 20, verse 12, King James Version. All right. The Lamb's book of life. I'm going to read it from the Jerusalem Bible. Verse 24. The pagan nations will live by his light. It said the pagan nations will live by his light, not contrary to the light, but live by his light, not by his darkness, but by his light. Okay? And the kings of the earth will bring in their treasures. The gates of it will never be shut by day, and there will be no night there. And the nation will come, bringing their treasures and their wealth. Nothing unclean may come into it. No one who does what is loathsome or false, but only those who are listed in the Lamb's book of life. All right. So we know that the Bible and all the versions were Bibles, specifically the King James. We know King James was the King of England. So we associate that message with the subjects of England. You know, that's how we look at it. You know, we don't look at it from an abstract, because King James and his version of it, i.e. the Christian version, which majority of us claim to so-called follow, should be following that interpretation, and not from an abstract as is written, but from the concrete of how he should have told you it was. Right? In Judaism, Christianity, and Islam, so specifically those two religions, the Book of Life is a book in which God records or will record the names of every person who is destined for heaven and the world to come. All right? Those who are destined for heaven and the world to come. They gave you an example. As you can see, you see a monarch with a halo around his head, with a book, sitting in a chair, with another saint giving honor to him. As you can see, holding the peace sign. And as you can see behind him, the chair is just suspended in the air. You don't see no water, you don't see no land, you don't see no birds flying. All you see is the air. All right? A picture speaks 1,000 words. Apocrypha, Book of Revelations. The Apocryphal Book of Jubilees speak of two heavenly tablets of books. The Book of Life for the righteous, and the Book of Death for those that walk in the path of impurity and are written down on the heavenly tablets as adversaries of God. Also, according to the Jubilees, one who contrives evil against his neighbor will be blotted out of the book of life, book of remembrance of men. It will not be written in the book of life, but in the book of perdition. The Ancient of Days is described as seated upon his throne of glory with the book a book of life of the living open before him. The Ancient of Days is talking about the book of Melchizedek, or King of Salem, or the King of Peace. You speak about that in your Bible in First Kings, the King of Solomon, all right? And sitting on the throne, or his throne, deals with the ascension or the succession of what we call the Ancient of Days, which will be what we call the person term or metaphor as Jesus Christ, which we here in the English temple know to be King Edgar the Peaceful, as well as all their descendants, because they had the surname Æthelwold. Æthelwold means noble. So they were of a noble family. Jesus was of a noble family. And Ing belongs to means belonging to. All right. So please pay very close attention to what is being said to you. The New Minister's Liber Vitae is a confraternity book produced in Winchester in southern England in 1031. It records the name of visitors to the New Minster, Winchester, and contains other information too, as well as contemporary images of King Luke the Great and his second wife, Queen Emma of Normandy, below on the right. All right, here's a picture. It says on the folio 29, a later writer has added the name of King Edward the Confessor, Queen Edith, and Æthelwold Edgar in recent articles. Tom Lysis has argued this list shows that Edgar was considered as King Edward's legitimate heir before Edward's death in 1065. As you can see, there's Jesus Christ with the book of life sitting on the throne. All right. These are saints. So saints are a reference to angels. All right. You see Peter and you see the Virgin Mary. You see Peter Keys. Jesus said, upon my rock will I build upon this rock will I build my church. All right. So once again, you see the book of life. You see Jesus holding the peace sign. Book of life, Jesus holding the peace sign, sitting on a throne, suspended in air. You see angels below him. All right. And this is confirmed by the New Minister Liber Vitae, which is confirmed confraternity book produced in Winchester, and it's recorded the names of visitors to the New Minister of Winchester. All right. So what is the confraternity book? Confraternity book, also called Liber Memorialis, Memorial Book, or Liber Vitae, Book of Life, is a medieval register of names of people who had entered into a state of spiritual brotherhood, confraternity, with the church or monastery in some way, often by visiting it in a capacity of a pilgrimage. Persons named in such books were actively remembered in the prayers of the priests or monks. In many cases, these books were established as early as the 8th century and continue up to the 13th century. So-called yearbooks in many ways are in many ways their successors. Okay, so you know how you get a yearbook from high school, etc. You know what I'm saying? This is what it's called, a confraternity book, as they call a book of life, for all those who are associated with what they call the spirituality as confirmed in the monasteries or the churches or the what they call monasteries or the churches or the cathedrals, etc. All right, so that is very, 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 very important to understand. So the new Minster liber vitae confraternity book produced in New Winchester in southern England in 1031. It records the name of visitors to the new Minster of Winchester. What is the new Minster of Winchester? The new Minsters in Winchester was a royal Benedictine abbey founded in 1901 in Winchester in English County of Hampshire. Alfred the Great had intended to build the monastery, but only got around to buying the land. His son, Edward the Elder, finished the project according to Alfred's wishes, with help St. Grimbald, who became the first abbot. It stood so close to the old minster that the voices of two choirs merged with the chaotic result. The body of the King Alfred was transferred to the new minister. St. Gimbert joined him, and it was also given the body of Breton St. St. Josie, making it an important pilgrimage center, and it became the Benedictine house in 963. According to John of Worcester in 972, King Edgar ordered the church of the new ministers begun by his father, King Edmund, but completed by himself to be solemnly dedicated. It is not known what part of the church was rebuilt. Queen Emma added the head of St. Valentine in 1041 with the building of the new cathedral at Winchester after the Norman conquest of England. The monks of the new minister was obliged to move to Hyde Mead, just outside the northern city walls, thus founding the Abbey of Hyde. Okay. As you can see, you see in the ministers, new ministers, vitae, i.e. the book of life, you see Jesus Christ sitting on the throne, right, with a book and holding up the peace sign, right? Now the book of life, you see, let's go back there. I'll show you go back there in a second. You see two angels with Jesus Christ, where you see Peter and Mary, where King Edgar with his charter. A charter is a certificate of incorporation, which I presented to incorporate God's kingdom here on earth. All right? God's kingdom here on earth, or i.e. establishing God's church or his bride. Okay? And you see Mary, the Virgin Mary, and you see Peter. You see angels blanking them. You see it as well as you see, once again, Jesus Christ sitting on the throne, holding up the peace sign with the book of life, but it's now closed. The book is now closed, all right? Let's go back to New Minister's Charter, liber vitae. As you can see, you see Jesus Christ with Peter and Mary and the angels below them, all right? And you see Jesus Christ with the book is open, all right? But then under the new ministers of Winchester, the book is closed. Why? Because King Edgar the Peaceful, i.e. Jesus Christ, where I'm the incarnation of, or the personification of, through my charter, as you've seen in what they call New Ministers of Winchester, you see King Edgar the Peaceful holding up the charter as a representation of the personification of the ascension of Christ, or i.e. the God King of Peace, all right, representing the King of Peace, or i.e. King of Salem, i.e. Melchizedek, all right, on the throne or God's throne, which we, as they interpret in Ezekiel, as the will within the will, all right, or Ezekiel's chariot, which we'll discuss in a second, all right, which is discussed in a second. And noting the same figure, Look at the oval shape. Look like an egg. All right. This is a throne and a ship he's in, because they're in outer space, what you call dark matter. All right. But they're not dark matter, they're antimatter. All right. They're composed of antimatter. All right. Because dark matter, i.e., matter, cannot take in electromagnetism. I'm gonna prove it to you. All right. But antimatter, which is energy, which was created what we call our universe, which is composed of what we call dark matter or matter, which is everything made of matter. That includes the planets, everything within the planet, etc. All right. Everything underneath it, everything on top of it, everything that creepers, crawlers, and everything that was created as the highest of creation, i.e., as the nobility here on this plane as a spectator to witness God's creation. All right. To witness God's creation. All right. Which is subject to arbitrary time. Why? Because we know it's only three-dimensional. All right. It evolved from infinity. We'll discuss that in a second. All right, so that's New Minister, Liber Vitae, or New Minister's Book of Life. All right, that originated from New Ministers of Winchester. Which is what you see here. All right, you see Jesus Christ, but the book is not open. Everybody needs to see that. Jesus Christ, the book is now closed as a result of the responsibility passing through what they call what we call the demise of the king. The sovereign power transferred to a new king, i.e. King Edgar the Peaceful, because what we call the Crystal City or Jerusalem or the bride of Christ represents Christ's church, as in the abstract, as in the concrete. So what King Edgar the Peaceful doing in the concrete, I'm doing as well in the concrete, because that's what we call the following the lines of succession. All right, the line of succession. All right, so as we can see, New Minister of Winchester, and let's revisit New Minister's charter. Once again, as you can see in the Book of Life, you see a throne, you see an entity denoting to the person, denoting to Jesus Christ, holding up the peace sign. So the only person that I know fit that description as the actual king ruler was King Edgar the Peaceful. All right, King Edgar the Peaceful. You can look him up on Wikipedia. That was his name, and he looks exactly like me. When you go to Oxford University on the stained Allsouls College on the stained glass, he looks exactly like me. So where did they get the image from? If it's still preserved today and goes back to what we call time immemorial or immortality, because he is a saint now. He's Jesus Christ, whose representation. It's the reason why he knows who are written up in his book of life. He knows it because the book is closed through his charter. All right? He knows who belongs to his church. Let's read it. The New Minster Charter is an Anglo-Saxon illuminated manuscript, illuminated, hence the word illuminated, that was likely composed of Bishop Æthelwold and presented to the New Ministers of Winchester by King Edgar in the year 966 AD to commemorate the Benedictine reform. It is now part of the British Library collection. Purpose and intent. In approximately 963, Bishop Æthelwold of Winchester required the monks of New Minster under threat of eviction to adopt the Benedictine rule. The decision was made with the approval of King Edgar, who reigned in England from 959 until his death in 975. The charter was officially created as a codex to compile and present the royal grants which established the new land of the new minister, later to become what they call Hyde Abbey. It is one of the 34 surviving documents from pre-Conquest archive of the new minister and stands out as the authentic document among numerous forgeries of its time. The text consists of 22 short chapters which outline the creation and the fall of both angels and man, and also articulates Edgar's desire to do the will of God. It additionally explains why Edgar made the change from secular cleric to Benedictine monk, and references the relationship between the king and the abbey as a cycle of protection from spiritual and physical threats. There are unknown number of missing from the manuscript contents and which can merely be speculated. All right? So you have it there in a nutshell. So let's qualify this, all right? Because I told you about my dream that I had, the actual events that I had, and then the exact events I had in regards to the day of judgment, in regards to Revelation 21 to 27. When Jesus sat at the right hand of the Father, i.e. the Lord sat at the right hand of the Lord, all right, and swore under the order of Melchizedek that he will be a part of that society, i.e. of that noble family, all right, that noble family, and every noble member of that noble family that was at that time or in this present day will be recorded in that book of life, i.e. New Minster, liber, vitae. All right? Everybody needs to understand. Once again, pay attention to the figure sitting inside this entombment. That's symbolic of a family line, agnatic succession unbroken, i.e. unknotted. In mathematical theology, and what we call knot theory, it's called an unknot. All right? An unknot. Remember that term. All right. Let's go here for a second. Okay, let me show you this right quick. Alfred the Great was the king of Wessex. His name means wise elf. His wife was Æthelwold, which was also from the house of Wessex, i.e. the noble house. Everybody see that? She was only visiting this plane composed of what we call dark matter. All right? Dark matter. Spouse Alfred the Great, burial of New Minster of Winchester. So her name is written in that book of life. All right? Let's go back. Let's go back here to the image of the kings, the portraits of medieval England. Early medieval England did not have the rich tradition of royal portraiture that existed among the contemporary Byzantine, Ottonian, and Carolingian courts. Our earliest image outside of numismatic coinage date from the 10th century, and of those only a few or are contemporary with the kings they sought to depict. But as we shall see in this article, we are not entirely bereft in as Anglo-Saxon rule gave way to the Normans and the Plantagenets. Portraitures began to become more common and more sophisticated with iconic images of Richard II, Henry V, and Richard III, surviving to this modern day. Hence the word image. Image, all right? When we go back to the image of Christ, who best fit the image of Christ, all right? And Lord, the personification. Who will stand up for that, to fit that description, i.e. that profession? Who is able to do that? So today we are going to look at 10 war portraits taken the chronological it will offer a brief interpretation of the image. They are invariably packed with political and religious allegory. I hope that alongside providing access to some amazing work of art, this will allow you to observe the evolution of royal portraiture over 5 centuries of English history, i.e. your history. 1. Acheton. Acheton was the son of Edward the Elder, the son of Alfred the Great, whose wife was Æthelwold. And as you can see, the complexion of their so-called skin complexion was that of dark matter. As you can see, they were inside the he's inside the church. The next one you see is King Edgar the Peaceful and New Minster Charter and New Minster Winchester, all right, which is the Abbey, as you can see, all right? So all this history relates to you. It relates to you, and you must know this history. It must be within your memory banks. Why? Because that's what you were here to do. Why? Because this is how you receive immortality, through your memory of who you were. Because before you came here on this plane, you were immortal. You were immortal, all right? So in order for you to be immortal, just think as a shadow or a hologram image, all right? It's gonna blow your mind. Think as a shadow or a hologram image. We think that a hologram image of us or a shadow is not real, right? We say a hologram image and a shadow is not real because we think we are real, right? But then our reality, as assumed to be real, we're still limited in our reality as confirmed as to be what's being defined as real. Why do I say that? Because we have limitations, right? We can't walk through walls. We can't fly. We feel pain. We feel all the things that every other thing made of matter can feel, all right? Because we're composed of the same element, matter, all right? Matter versus antimatter, all right? Antimatter is a result of what we call energy that was here before what we call matter came into manifestation, because it said God created man in his image. As well, he said he created us out of nothing. We were created out of nothing. So matter is not nothing. Matter is something, because we are composed of matter. So to us, it's something. But when prior to its creation by the creator, it was nothing. But yet the creator still existed. What is that creator is what we are all trying to find. All right? Just search for what we call immortality. But you cannot receive immortality if your name is not written in that book of life. And the book of life is that recording that was written by that one who records, all right? And as we can see in the book of life, the book was open. But now we see in the New Minster Charter that that book is closed. That book is closed. All right, let's go ahead. Now you have, as we said, New Minster Liber, what's it called, liber vitae, the book of life. Once again, you go here, you see St. Peter, and Jesus said, upon this church, I built, upon this rock, I built my church. You see King Edgar is flanked by, on the right, to my right as St. Peter, and flanked to his left is the Virgin Mary. All right. We know it said Jesus was born in what we call an immaculate conception. All right. So if Peter and Mary, as we see here, are saints because they got halos around themselves, i.e. the circle. All right. Unknotted, which means ain't no knot, ain't no broken line of succession. They're all one noble family. Why? Because they carry that name Æthelwold. Æthelwold means noble, and ing means belonging to. All right. And as you can see in the book of life, you see the book is open. You see Jesus Christ with St. Peter and Mary flanking him. All right. So you went from this to this. All right. That authority and power switched from the image of Christ based off in the beginning was the Word. The Word was Christ, and the Word became flesh and dwelt amongst the man. So in the beginning was the Word, which is here. The Word was God, because back then in the medieval times, they called themselves lords and gods. But we didn't exist in that time out of mind. So the only way I can know that is through memory. And the Word became flesh. So that Word that I downloaded, right? Because my mind is the computer. All right. My mind is the computer. My brain is the keys. All right. That I use my body to research. All right. And upload. All right. Upload. Mind transfer. All right. Mind transfer. We're going to get into these terms. Pay very close attention, because this is the only way you will receive immortality. Going back to what we call time immemorial. And time immemorial, according to law, starts with Richard I. And Richard I was the brother of John, as well as the Henry III, who were all sons of Henry II, son of Godfrey, the fifth count of Van Jew, son of Folk, ruler of Jerusalem. And Jerusalem was the city of peace, which was the throne, and with Jesus Christ, i.e. the King of Peace, i.e. the King of Salem, i.e. Malachi Zodok, which King Edgar is representing, which I am the reincarnation of today by the personification, by way of the incarnation through my charter, which I just showed you before the opening up of this lecture. All right. Let's move forward. So once again, they all belong to one family, and this family is that of Æthelwold. We know that King Edgar was the son of Edmund, and Edmund's descended from the Æthelwold, but King Edgar's son was called Æthelred the Unready. His name was Æthelred the Unready. So Ætheling, also spelled Ætheling or Ethel or Ætheling, i.e. ing, was an Old English term used in Anglo-Saxon England to designate princes of royal dynasty who were eligible for kingship. Hence the word kingship. Y'all better stop playing with me. Kingship. Why did they use the word ship? Why did they use the word ship? They could use any word, but they chose to use the word ship. That's a metaphor. The term is in Old English, the Old Saxon compound of Athiel, or Ethel, meaning noble family, and ing, which means belonging to. It was usually rendered in Latin as Belesbeges, means the king's son, but they make reference to kingship. All right, kingship. Don't forget that. I'm about to bring it home. Meaning and use of the Anglo-Saxon England. During the early years of the Anglo-Saxon rule of England, the word Æthelwold was probably used to denote any person of noble birth. It was soon restricted to members of royal family. Why? Because you broke, violated the laws governing that noble birth. So it had to be represented by one royal family. That royal family was the family of King Edgar the Peaceful, i.e. Jesus Christ and Christ's family. And Christ's family was those who are part of Christ's church. As we see, when King Edgar received his charter in the name of what they said, Jesus Christ, it was based off the incorporation of Christ's church. i.e. Christ's bride. In order for you to be part of the bride, you must come into his church. And the best representation of his church was King Edgar the Peaceful, because God's church is a peaceful church. All right, y'all don't understand me. During the earliest years of the Anglo-Saxon rule in England, the word Aston was probably used to denote any person of noble birth. It was soon used to restrict to just a royal family. The prefix Ethel formed part of the name of the several Anglo-Saxon kings, for instance, Æthelwold of Kent, Æthelwold of Winchester, and Æthelred of Wessex. That's Æthelred done already, if I'm not mistaken. Yep, Æthelred. No, that's not the Æthelred already. That was a King Edgar. That was a King Edgar son. Another guy named Æthelred. But see how important the name, the surname is? Æthelred, you see how important your surname is? Because it represents a part of the tribes. Your surname represents that of noble birth. It was given to you for a reason. So to violate that noble birth and the laws governing the noble birth in lieu of what we call primogeniture, i.e. kingship, is treason for you. It's treason. All right, let's get to it. Æthelin, all right, as we see. Let's look at Æther. As you can see the complexion, as I showed you, of the Anglo-Saxon monarchs. And they were of dark skin complexion, made of dark matter. You hear that? Dark matter. Dark matter is what we call transmission medium. It's a transmission medium. All right. It does not take electromagnetism, but it can be used to transfer that electromagnetism, which I'm going to show you. All right. But it needs a medium. All right. And the only medium is that what? Electricity. So the actual dark matter. Think of it like jumping cables. All right. Jumping cables. When the car is dead, the only way you can bring that car back to life is with them jumping cables. All right. If you're dead and you need to come back to life, the only way they can get you back to life is with them hospital cables. Hit them, boom. You know what I'm saying? That's the only way they can bring you back to life, is to bring back that spark, that electricity. All right? That electricity, that what gave birth to our universe. All right? But we didn't come from this creation of universe that's composed of dark matter. Because for dark matter, there's antimatter. All right? There's antimatter. We're going to get into this discussion. Y'all better pay attention to me. All right. So in physics, ether theories are known. Ether. I think I went ahead of myself. Ether elements and classical elements. All right, when you go to school, what they call it, elementary school. They call it elementary school. We all need to understand that. Can y'all see this? According to ancient medieval science, did you hear that? It said medieval science. So in the Middle Ages, they was aware of the science. We're not aware of it in this present day, but in the Middle Ages, they was aware of the science, because the origin of the word ether dealing with element, and we know elements deal with noble gases. All right. They knew this. And they said in the Middle Ages, according to the study of the science of ether, it says alternative spelling includes ether, and ether, which is the English way of saying ether. English E-T-H-E-R. Okay. It can be, you can light a match or you can smell it. It's a gas. All right. Also known as the fifth element, or quintessence. All right. I talked about this in my last video. Ether So aether or ether is known as the fifth element or quintessence. All right. It is the material that fills the region of the universe beyond the terrestrial sphere. All right. The concept of ether was used in several theories to explain several natural phenomena, such as the propagation of light and gravity. In the 9th century, physics postulated that ether permeated space, providing a medium, i.e., what is called? Transmission medium. It's called a transmission medium. All right. So it says propagation of light and gravity in the 19th century. Physical postulates that ether permeated space, provided a medium through which light could travel in a vacuum, but evidence for the presence of such a medium was not found. All right. It was not found. Why? Because they lacked this understanding. Why? They lack this understanding because they're limited in their capacity to learn this by what they call mental transference or mental uploading. We're going to talk about this. Let's deal with the abstract first, all right? The word ether means pure, fresh air or clear sky. In Greek mythology, it was thought to be the pure essence that God breathed, filling the space where they live, analogous to the air breathed by mortals. Genesis said God breathed into man and he became a living soul. He created man in his image, male and female, he created them. All right? These are what they call the beasts. All right? Beasts created from dark matter. All right? Subject to arbitrary or time. Dark matter cannot take in electromagnetism, right? It's only can be used as what we call a transmission medium. We're going to talk about this, all right? How we know this. It is also personified, i.e., you hear that? Personified, incarnated, i.e., incorporated, all right? So you have to incorporate this in your life. You have to practice this. You have to understand this. Just not listen to it, i.e., because back in the movie Knowing, they were just talking and the children was whispering just by listening. All right? I said it's also personified as a deity, Ether, the son of Erebus and Neus, and traditional Greek mythology. Ether is also related to incinerate and intransitive to burn, to shine. Related to the name Egyptus or Ethiopians or Ethiopia, meaning people with a burnt black visage. People with a burnt black visage. So that's what we look like. That's the characteristics that we have. But it says that in order for us to ascend to our highest form, we must incinerate or burn this physical matter, i.e. dark matter, to shine as light beings. Because you was a light being, but you were put in this prison here on earth. Because he breathed ether into you, life. All right? He breathed life into you. And when he breathed life into you, it wasn't no spook. You was a light being, i.e. a being made of what they call electromagnetism. All right? A being of energy. Energy. If you go back to Spider-Man and what's the name played the role? Jamie Foxx, Electro Man. All right? Electro Man, look at the movie. Let's deal with it. So we know black is a facade, which also is a metaphor for the word ether. And ether is symbolic of the air, and air gives life to the clay, which gives it the ability to be able to animate under what we call the law of force. Under the laws of force. Ether theories. I learned this just by myself. I didn't go to school for none of this. All this was learned just from downloading. information. Your mind is a computer, right? Your brain is the keyboard, all right? So through mental transfer and through uploading to another computer, you're transferring information, i.e. transmission medium. Using this vessel as a transmission medium to upload information so that you may ascend from what we call dark matter, this dark matter into what we call antimatter. Antimatter is what we call light, all right? Light, energy that gave birth to what we call the universe, to what we call the Big Bang. Energy equals matter constant to the speed of light. All right. In order to move at the speed of light, you need what? Antimatter. All right. That gives fusion power. All right. That's why it says kingship. Kingship, we are kings. Why? Because we are able to move through space and time at the speed of light. Why? Because of our makeup. We are beings of light, but we trapped here as a result of us being trapped in a matrix, i.e. a matrix created by a computer that they generated by creating it from what we call our starting point. We're gonna get into this. Let me move on to it. So, and physics ether theory, known as ether theory, proposed the existence of a medium of space-filling substance, or a field as a transmission medium for the propagation of electromagnetic or gravitational force. You hear that? Electromagnetic or gravitational force. You know what gravity is? To bind you down, right? In space, you're not bound by gravity. It's free, all right? But who want to just float? Who want to float off? So you have to be grounded by something, all right? You have to be grounded by something. And the grounding is the transmission medium for you to move, i.e. the law of force. Let's visit that. Dark matter. I'm just hit and move. Dark matter is a hypothetical form of matter, though to be the predominant type of matter is in the universe. It is called dark because it does not appear to interact with the electromagnetic field, which means it does not absorb, reflect, or emit electromagnetic radiation. It is therefore difficult to detect. All right, we see that. All right. What is antimatter? First, let's look at electromagnetism. In physics, electromagnetism is the interaction that occurs between particles with electric charge via electromagnetic fields. The electromagnetic force is one of four fundamental forces of nature. It is the dominant force in the interaction of atoms and molecules. Electromagnetism can be thought of as a combination of electrostatic and magnetism, i.e. electricity, static, all right? Two distinct but closely intertwined phenomena. As you can see, what you call a lightning storm. Electromagnetic forces occur between any two charged particles, i.e. Antiparticles, causing attraction between particles with opposing charges and repulsion between particles with the same charge, while magnetism is an interaction that occurs exclusively between the charged particles in relative motion. These two effects combine to create electromagnetic field in the vicinity of charged particles, which can accelerate other charged particles via the Lorentz force. At high energy, the weak force and electromagnetic force are unified as a single electroweak force. So that's meaning that in order to get an electromagnetic charge, you need a medium to bring that charge. All right, once again, it's like a battery, right? It's like batteries. Batteries are, not a battery, I'm sorry. When a battery is dead, You need jumping cables, because jumping cables act as a medium to transfer the electricity to that dark matter. Because dark matter cannot absorb electrical matter, but it can be used as by way of what we call vacuum, right? And we know vacuum is what they use to transfer electromagnetism, which comes from what we call antimatter. Because antimatter is antimatter, i.e., dark matter. Antiparticles. Dark matter, antimatter, same thing. All right. Supreme being, human. Once again, negative charge, positive charge. The positive charge is electromagnetism. The negative charge is what they call dark matter. All right, dark matter, human beings. Let's read it for ourselves. In particle physics, let me show you guys here. In particle physics, every type of particle is associated with an antiparticle. All right. Once again, in particle physics, every type of particle is associated with an antiparticle with the same mass, i.e., matter, but with the opposite physical charge, such as the electric charge. For example, the antiparticle of the electron is the positron, also known as the anti-electron. While the electron has a negative electric charge, the positron has the positive electric charge, and it produced naturally in certain type of radioactivity decay. The opposite is also true. The antiparticle of the positron is an electron. All right. So we see the difference between what we call negative and positive dealing with antimatter and dark matter. And the only way the electromagnetism can manifest is to do what we call transmission medium. Let's go to transmission medium. Transmission medium is a system of substance that can mediate the propagation of signals for the purpose of telecommunication. All right. The transmission medium is a system of substance that can mediate the propagation of signals for the purpose of telecommunication, i.e., a satellite. A satellite, all right, a telephone pole, ET phone home, all right, Anglophone. You hear that? Anglophone. We're phoning home, y'all. Signals are typically imposed on waves of some kind suitable for the chosen medium. You hear that? For the chosen medium. For example, data can modulate sound, and a transmission medium for sound may be air, but solids and liquids may also act as a transmission medium. So the highest frequency for the transmission medium in lieu of electromagnetism is through what we call air. All right, because it said under the ether that our Creator breathed life into us, i.e. air. All right, but solids and liquids is composed of matter. All right, because we know that ether in mysticism means to burn or to incinerate. So if you take an ice cube out the refrigerator and put it in this heat, what happens? It's going to incinerate, right? It's going to start sweating. All right. When we get hot, we what? Overheat. All right. So we got to cool us down. It says vacuum or air constitute a good transmission medium for electromagnetic waves such as light and radio waves. Did you hear that? Vacuums or air constitute a good transmission medium for electromagnetic waves such as light and radio waves. So if that's the case, then dark matter cannot fulfill this obligation. Dark matter is a hypothetical form of matter, though it to be predominant type of matter in the universe. It is called dark because it does not appear to interact with the electromagnetic field, which means it does not absorb, reflect, or emit electromagnetic radiation. It's therefore difficult to detect. So you came from home. Do you understand what I'm talking to you? You cannot phone home. You cannot go home because there's no communication going on. No communication going on. Communication going on. All right, let's talk about it. So you need some type of what we call transmission medium. Or what we call jumping cable. I am your jumping cable, y'all. I am your jumping cable. So you need a jump start on what's going on. You better follow me, all right? Because I'm letting you know your wires has been cut. This perpetual state of existence with your ancestors who lived inside this society, i.e., you're stuck here. We are out, we're going here outside of this because this is subject to encumbrances. It's limited, all right? Time and space. It's limited, all right? This is what we call dark matter. This is what we call our universe, all right? This is a result of what we call the Big Bang. Check it out. A jump wire, also known as a jumper wire, is an electrical wire or a group of them in a cable. You hear that? With a connector or a pin at each end, or sometimes without them, simply tin, which is normally used to interconnect the components of a breadboard or other prototype or test circuits internally or with other equipment or components without soldering. Meaning, you know, when you solder something, it means to mend it together. All right. So if they don't solder, they don't mean for it to stay together. I mean, they can unplug it when they want to. When they unplug it, that means they unplug you from the matrix. They unplug you from the matrix. Now, so the matrix is based off the creator of the matrix. So who is the creator of the matrix? This creator, this matrix that we live in now, or the matrix that we came from? Because this was created from out of nothing. This was created from nothing. That nothing is antimatter. That creation is matter, i.e. dark matter. All right? So you need that rope to pull yourself out of here. That rope represents that string. That string represents what we call knot, unknot. And unknot is rooted in what we call knot theory. We know that knot theory is where my family surname comes from, which is called Stratfordshire, which is called the Stratford knot. And the Stratford knot is called the overhand knot, and we call it the underhand knot. Because whether it was overhand out in the public or underhand in secrecy, you still cut our line of descendancy, i.e. our noble family. You cut our noble line of descent, and our ancestors are pissed off about that. All right, I'm gonna show you, I'm gonna prove it. Let's go to mathematics. Let's deal with some mathematics just to prove it. Ambient isotopy. In mathematical subject of topology, an ambient isotopy, also called an H isotopy, is a kind of continuous distortion of ambient space. For example, a manifold, i.e. God created man in the image and in his likeness. He formed man from the dust of the ground and enveloped him with a soul. And enveloped him with the soul. He created you. taking on a sub-manifold to another sub-manifold. Once again, created you from nothing, all right? From nothing. Energy is continuous, it's perpetual. The only way the energy can stop is if you cut it off. Cut it off is putting a knot in it or unplugging it, right? It says the mathematical subject of topology and ambient isotopy, also called H isotopy, is a kind of continuous distortion of an ambient space. For example, a manifold taking on a submanifold to another submanifold. For example, in knot theory, one considers two knots the same if one can distort one knot into the other without breaking it. Okay, so one knot changed into a submanifold of a knot to another knot, which is simply what we call a trefoil knot. A trefoil knot descended from what we call an unknot, because unknot means that there's no knots. A knot means to plug. If you plug something, that means that there's a cutoff, you know what I'm saying, from the source. I.e., whether you want to talk abstract or you want to talk about concrete, i.e., the computer. The computer, all right? Because the computer is based off memory data, all right? Memory data. Memory data is preserved in what we call a memory chip. You don't even see it, but you know there's a memory chip to back information, all right? But you don't want to overload with information that you don't need, all right? So a mathematical subject of topology and ambient isotopy, also called H isotopy, is a kind of continuous distortion of ambient space. For example, a manifold taking a submanifold to another submanifold, for example, in knot theory. So you see an unknot, which is the circle, and a trefoil knot, which looks like a trefoil, all right? Which is symbolic of zero-dimensional, i.e. right here, to first, second, and third dimension onto a fourth dimension, i.e. From a trefoil, i.e. What we call what they call a three-leaf clover, all right? You ever heard this? Ever heard that folklore? I'm looking over a four-leaf clover that I never found before. A four-leaf clover is a lucky, meaning that if you find a four-leaf clover, you are very, very, very lucky. All right, to discover, i.e., discover means to come to knowledge of something, means to know something. All right. Meaning to know something. So by you understanding what I'm telling you, meaning that you're learning. To know it and not learning or not understanding is for naught. All right. So unknot is not an ambient isotopic to the trefoil, since one cannot be deformed into the other through a continuous path of homomorphisms of an ambient space. They are ambient. Let me show you. Boom. All right. Boom. And boom. Yeah, right. All right. Same thing. Same thing. Trefoil knot. Don't look all that pretty though. All right. Trefoil knot. So I took from nothing and created something. I moved something from 0 dimension to 3 dimensional. All right. Making use of that ambient space. All right. Making use of that ambient space. All right. But the more denser I become, i.e., the more matter I become, i.e., mass. All right. The more I lose my connection, because I'm not my full self. When he created you, I was of energy. Energy represents light, i.e., featherstone. Because the word featherstone comes from the surname father. Father means featherstone. So feather is light and the stone is heavy. A feather is light and a stone is heavy. All right. So we're dealing with the ambient or trefoil. You see, I created the trefoil from what we call unknotted. And unknotted means and mathematic theory knot of knot, the unknot, not, or trivial knot. See, trivial, right? Trivial means something that's not important. All right. It's least knotted of all knots, meaning there ain't no knots in it. Intuitively, the unknot is a closed loop or rope without a knot tied into it. Unknotted. To a knot, there is a unknotted is an embedded topological circle and three sphere that is ambient isotopic. Did you hear that? Ambient isotopic. We were just talking about that. All right. That is deformable to a geometrically round circle. And we know circle means church, and church and German means Kirk. And Captain Kirk was in what we call a ship. All right. He was in a spaceship. All right. And the only way you can be in a spaceship is by way of being able to maintain yourself in that spaceship, because he didn't have no oxygen mask, none of that. He was in some type of interstellar starship that's able to sustain himself, just like you're talking about in what we call New Jerusalem. Because he said you didn't need no sunlight, none of that, right? It said the city or Crystal City was illuminated, you know what I'm saying? So you didn't need it. So it must have been had his own electricity, right? His own ability to be able to illuminate it, so we won't be in no darkness. Because it said there will be no more darkness. So there won't be no more cutting off the light for not paying your bill. You see that? All right, let's get to it. Unknot. Let's go to trefoil knot. All right. I already talked about this. I'm just going back over it so you can understand it from a mathematical perspective. Since y'all don't want to deal with religious or spiritual or legal or lawful perspectives, probably gonna understand it in this way. And not theory, a branch of mathematics, you know, mathematics means to add. You know what I'm saying? 1 + 1 = 2. You know what I'm saying? And in abstract, you can see that. So a knot theory, a branch of mathematics, the trefoil knot is simply an example of a non-trivial knot, meaning that, hey, it's very simple. You can see that. You can see that. The trefoil can be obtained by joining together the two loosest ends of a common overhand knot, resulting in a knotted loop. As the simplest knot, the trefoil is fundamental to study of mathematical knot theory. The trefoil knot is named after the three-leaf clover. You hear that? The three-leaf clover. Now, if you find a four-leaf clover, i.e. fourth dimension, you're lucky. All right? You're lucky. All right? So we know that the trefoil knot, which is derived from a unknotted, as I just proved, right? Same as you see here, right? Was created by my hand from this to this, from one-dimensional, two-dimensional, i.e. DNA strand, double helix, and three-dimensional. Which now we move to fourth dimensional, all right? So it says, and it was done by my hands. My hands. That's the Trinity, all right? The true trefoil can be obtained by joining together the two loosest ends of a common overhand knot. And at no time did you see two loose ends. Because if there's two loose ends, that means that the circuit or the connection or the relationship has been broken. It's been severed. All right, by somebody who has severed the connection to the understanding of who we are related to that knot theory. Before we had a blank or lacking of understanding of who we were from our creator and at the hands of the creator, because he put us in this dark matter for a reason, i.e. triple darkness. Let's see here. But it said joining together two loose ends of a common overhand knot. So that means that the order For you to have an overhand knot, it must be done at the hands of somebody. Because the overhand knot is this. We know, overhand knot is one of the most fundamental knots and forms the basis of many other, including simple nooses. And we know our ancestors were hung in nooses in the modern day, and were hung by nooses in the medieval ages. All right, we were hung. They cut off our air supply. What happens when you put somebody in your noose? You cut off their air supply. All right, you stop their air supply. It should be used if the knot is intended to be permanent. You hear that? This is a permanent knot. Perpetual knot. An immortal knot. This knot is not immortal. This knot had a beginning and an ending, i.e., jumping cable. All right, as you can see, a jumping, what they call it, a jump wire. Okay, whenever we dead, what they use jumping cables in the hospital to bring us back to life, because we are the transmission medium for that. But they don't want to bring us alive. They think we dead and gone. You're not dead. You're not dead. You just transfer back to your state, but you still got to answer for the deeds you did in that state, as well as the state that you're in. And if 9 times out of 10, if they didn't like the deeds that you did in that state, you will not make it on to New Jerusalem. Because the dead and those who were alive had to answer. All right? Those who were dead and alive had to answer for what they did on that plane of thing made a matter. But understand what I'm saying to you? All right. So you see, an overhand knot and an unknot is totally different. An unknot is no breaking line of succession. My family name, Jefferson, come from Staffordshire, and Staffordshire is noted for what they call the overhand knot, for which all other knots derive from. So if the overhand knot which derived from the Stafford knot, which denote to nooses cutting off air supply, that means that our air supply, i.e. our ether or our connection to our forefathers who were beings of what we call energy, Etherean, or Etherian, whatever you want to say. The only way you connect yourself back that is restore the circuitry. Put back in that chip, all right? Put that chip back in. I'm that chip, all right? Let's see, let's prove it. So the trefoil knot was made after the hand of somebody. Let's see who hand was made. It was made from. As you can see, this knot was made, trefoil knot, from the unknot, but you don't see no hands there, right? You don't see no human hands there creating that knot. Not at all. Now it might be made by an inanimate entity, such as a Etherean, i.e. Extraterrestrial, what you want to call an alien. You know what I'm saying? And the personification what looked like a human. All right, but let's see who created this, what we call matrix that we're in. Stop. So all those who did not come from the church, we know the church is denoted for the word circle, circle, church, and chancery. There's no broken line succession as we established in the new Minster, liber, vitae, i.e. the Book of Life, as established in the new Minster Charter and new Minster of Winchester. You just seen the proof yourself. So if there is a broke, then this is the reason why there is a break. Jumping wires, y'all. It's your jump wire. This is your energy source. At the hands of your creator. All right? At the hands of your creator. All right? So in order for you to go back to your creator, this is what you must do. To receive immortality, as prescribed in the Book of Life, you must deal with what they call immortality, or the understanding of immortality. What is immortality? What's your thought? I'll let everyone pull this up. Immortality. From abstract to concrete. How about that? Immortality. I know this is on everybody's mind. Immortality is the, make sure you all see it. Immortality is the concept of eternal life. Some modern species may possess biological immortality. You hear that? Some modern species may possess biological immortality, i.e. genetic codes, i.e. in your genes to preserve your right to immortality. Some scientists, futurists, and philosophers have theorized about the immortality of the human body, but some suggest that human immortality may be achieved in the first few decades of the 21st century with the help of certain technological, such as mind uploading, i.e. digital immortality. You hear that? Digital immortality. Other advocates believe that life extension is a more achievable goal in the short term, with immortality awaiting further research breakthroughs. All right. But they said outlooks on achieving immortality is based on the technical studies dealing with mind uploading or digital immortality. We know what digital immortality means, right? That's talking about some like AI or some type of computer, all right? And the only way to achieve that is what we call mind uploading, because your mind is a computer, all right? Your mind is a computer, and your computer works off what we call energy. You know what I'm saying? So anything you put in your computer is blank until you put something in it, right? It's blank. All right, so if it's blank, that means that there must be some type of mind uploading. What is mind uploading? Mind uploading is a speculative process of whole brain emulation, in which brain scan is used to completely emulate, i.e. copy, the mental state of the individual in a digital computer. Once again, mind uploading is a speculative process of whole brain emulation, in which a brain scan is used to completely emulate the mental state of the individual in a digital computer. The computer would then run a simulation of the brain information processing such that it would respond in essentially the same way as the original brain and experience having a sentient conscious mind. Everybody take a couple of seconds and grasp that. Read it again. Mind uploading is a speculative process of whole brain emulation. They studying the stuff, y'all, in which a brain scan is used to completely emulate the mental state of individuals in a digital computer. Your brain is not your mind, and your mind is not your brain. The brain is tangible, your mind is intangible. But they make reference to your brain and your mind in regards to reference to a digital computer. So one can inputs and the other one receives. All right. And when the other one receives it, then it creates an emulation to that from what they call a human being to what they call a sentient being with a conscious mind. All right. AI. Substantial mainstream research is related areas in being conducted in neurosciences and computer science, including animal brains mapping and simulation, development of faster supercomputers, virtual reality, brain-computer interfaces, connectomics, and information extraction from dynamically functioning brain. Okay, so this is how they're experimenting with us by putting us in what we call an assimilation. You're living in what they call an assimilation by your brain uploading stuff they give you. And then you store it in your mind, all right, as feed, and it's recorded, it's a record of useless stuff because it does not involve immortality. It does not involve immortality, all right? We can go back to immortality in a second. So immortality can be acquired by mind uploading through what they call digital immortality. Let's look at that. Digital immortality or visual immortality, i.e. visualizing, we call it autobiological memory or daydreaming, right? When you daydream about something all day long, that's all on your mind. That's all. And people say, hey, you have to come to. This is what you're doing, all right? Digital immortality or virtual immortality is the hypothetical concept of storing or transferring a person's personality in digital substrate, i.e. a computer, robot, or cyberspace, all right? Mind uploading. The result might look like an avatar behaving, reacting, and thinking like a person on the basis of that person's digital archive. After the death of the individual, this avatar can remain static or continue to learn and self-improve autonomously, possibly becoming a seed of AI. So you're AI on this planet, right? Because you've been disconnected from the true source, all right? The true computer, and now they got us living in this avatar. This is an avatar, only confined to this world. That's the problem that Jake Sully had in the movie Avatar with the world that was not the world he was used to. And he started questioning the reality of the world he came from and the world he wanted to be in, and he was able to do that. If he can do it on TV, we can no one should do it in reality. All right? A considerable portion of transhumanists and singularitarians place great hope into the belief that they may eventually become immortal by creating one or many non-biological functioning copies of their brain, thereby leaving their biological shell. These copies may then leave eternal inversion of digital heaven on paradise, i.e. Revelations 21, verses 24 to 27. Heaven, paradise, immortality, i.e. the crystal city, i.e. a city that don't need the sun, i.e. because you won't need this body. This body needs the sun. Your true body does not, i.e. your etheric body, but you have to be of the noble family. And if you're of the noble family, then your name must be written in that book of life. i.e. New Minister liber vitae, liber vitae. Let's see. Let's continue. Methods. Reaching digital immortality in a two-step process. You see that? Archiving and digitizing people. Archiving and digitizing people. So when they archive and digitize people by the people they created in those corporations, their immortality is just limited because they know corporations are dead from the door. And if you're dead, then that means that you're immortal from our understanding. know what I'm saying? Versus, then it says two, making the arbiter live. All right. So the only way you can make the arbiter live is connecting from this digitized, what they call matrix. All right. And going back to the source, like Leo did in what they call the movie The Matrix. Right. When he unlinked from the so-called matrix, the matrix, he could do whatever he wanted. He could do whatever he wanted. Only problem with that is that he was being subject to the laws of the matrix, which was under control of what they call Men in Black or Mr. Smith, the corporation. All right, you had to do what they said. You had to go by their laws, because if you messed up for them, they're gonna have a problem. So everybody didn't have the solution, but Leo, and the only way he had to solution he had to break what everybody was dealing with Zion was to deal with it himself. All right, he had to deal with it himself, so he had to ascend. He had to ascend to that oneness with himself, who he truly was, and who he truly was that from what we call Zion. We know Zion is considered what we call the city of peace, and the city of peace is not what you hear in the abstract story. The Zion in the movie Matrix was adoring spaceship. Of course, they're gonna make the spaceship look like it wasn't nothing, but nonetheless, it was a spaceship. All right, i.e., kingship. Let's get on with this. Digital immortality has been argued to go beyond technical processes of digitization of people and encompass the social aspect as well. For example, Joshua Hurtado has presented a four-step framework in which the digitized immortalization of people can preserve the social bond between the living and the dead. These steps are data gathering. 2, data codification. 3, data activation. 4, data embodiment. Each of these steps is linked to a form of preserving the social bond, either through talk and body emotionality, expression emotion through one form of embodiment, or monumentalism, creating a monument, in this case, in digital form to remember the dead. All right. This is the reason why when you're dealing with the founding fathers, their society was not based off any proof of descent or who you come from, and pursuant to any type of nobility. It was based off the color of skin. And they chose the word white because they know white deals with or synonymous with antimatter. And we know black deals with dark matter. And we know dark matter cannot take on electromagnetism. It's just a transmission medium. All right. So we only here to be used as a medium to get back to the Father, but you must know who the Father is. And we don't know who the Father is because of your teacher. All right. Once again, let's go here. As you can see, an example from a transmission medium, which is what your body is made of. It's just a medium. All right. It's just a medium, but you connect it from the electricity because you're not uploading that information of the electricity or the circuit or the church where you originated from, because the church represented that connection. All right. It represented that connection. So you cannot ascend, i.e., ascension. You cannot ascend. All right. I'm gonna see why. Let's see. Right. Merkaba or chariot, or Merkaba mysticism, or chariot mysticism, is a school of early Jewish mysticism from 100 circa BC to 1000 circa or Christian era, centered on visions such as those found in the book of Ezekiel, chapter 1, or in the Hekhalat literature, palace literature. All right? Very important. As you can see the fire here? You see the charter being handed to, as we see Ezekiel, and as told in his vision. You see a vision of the 4 beasts, as well as the chariot of fire, and you see the throne of God, all right, i.e. Melchizedek, sitting at the right hand of the Father, all right? And it said that in the temple, in the city, there was no temple because the Father and the Son was the represent the light of the temple. Let's get into it. It says that concerning the stories of the ascent to the heavenly palaces and the throne of God, the main corpus of the Merkaba literature was composed in the period of 2000 circa era. So we're not concerned about that because that's the time era, not a reference to who we use to qualify our story. Okay, and it's very important because the symmetry that they use is symbolic. All right, we don't know if this is true or not, but we do see somebody sitting in a chair, right? And that same O that we see in the New Minster Charter or the Book of Life. Once again, you see it here. Let's go to the Book of Life, or what they call New Minster's liber vitae, or the Book of Life. Everybody see here? The book is open. Same picture, but the book is open. All right. Now you see in New Minster's Charter with King Edgar the Peaceful, when King Edgar hands him this charter, the book is now closed. That means that those who were written in the Book of Life are sealed. As you can see, everyone, this is the New Minster Charter. Once again, the book is closed. You see him sit upon the throne and that same oval shape. All right. So you got it from the abstract story, going back to Ezekiel's will. You see the story, same story portrayed in the Middle Ages, dealing with Jesus Christ and reference to King Edgar the Peaceful. And this symbolic avenue of Ezekiel well is relative to Psalm 1104, then with the order of Melchizedek. All right. And Melchizedek was king of Salem, i.e. king of peace, and where Jesus was called. And King Edgar was called the king of peace, i.e. this is our Jesus Christ, which I'm the reincarnation of. Why? Because it's in my memory banks. I remember. All right. I remember. Okay. Going back to story. Here we go. All right. Now let's go back to the movie Knowing. Everybody who I told you about this movie, you need to watch it. It's a clue. Now, when we see, in regards to what we call planetary travel, we're not capable to do that. Nobody on this planet is able to do capable planetary travel, nor interstellar travel for that matter, okay? But yet they make movies about it. And that was the purpose of Ezekiel's chariot vision in regards to a ship or a kingship, because the king is sitting in the ship, which is a cockpit, all right? A cockpit. And I guess Jesus is the co-pilot because his father is the captain, all right? Jesus is the co-pilot and his father is the captain, and the kingship, i.e. the spaceship, all right? Moving through space and time. And the only way you can move through space and time, i.e. different dimensions, i.e. different portals, i.e. different black holes, is through what we call fusion power. And fusion power is only capable of do what we call antimatter, all right? Electro energy, that type of energy, which caused what we call the Big Bang, in which our universe and everything within our universe came to existence from. But yet, these beings who came and had the ability to interstellar travel came into this planetary existence and was able to call a shot, all right? As told in the Bible, in reference to Matthias Miriam, as you see here, okay? But that abstract story is not good enough for us. Because if you're taking an abstract story and it deals with a distinction level of events that's going on, then we must go back to this movie. The knowing. John, remember John wrote the book of Revelation, tries to send the daughter Diane and her granddaughter Abbey, i.e. Westminster Abbey, because that Abbey is the name for church, to prevent the last event. After some initial disbelief, Diane goes with John to Lucinda, childhood's home, where they find a copy of Matthias Miriam's engraving of Ezekiel's chariot vision, which is the vision we just showed you, which is the abstract interpretation or metaphor, in which a great sun is represented. And once again, in which a great sun is represented. Now, the earth was about to be destroyed in that movie, but by the S-U-N, but yet whoever represented the savior of the people was called the S-O-N, all right, who was the son of God, who created the S-U-N, all right? You see how they play with us, all right? And with the great sun represented, they also discovered that the final two digits, i.e. 2 digits of Lucinda's message are not numbered, but 2 reverse letters E, matching the message left by Lucinda under her bed. Everyone else was destroyed by this extinction level event, and the only 2 people who lived was the 2 children, Abby and Caleb, the son of John and whatever Diane, the mother of Abby, and John's father Caleb. All right, the only people who lived was Caleb and Abby, who were left asleep in the car. All right, having encountered with the beings who were said beings, who are the source of the whisper. Remember, when you think about something, right, it's like a whisper. Somebody's whispering a thought in your head. They come out of nowhere, right? Somebody can whisper a thought in your ear, and with that thought, you process that thought, and from that thought, all things manifested, whether it's good or it's evil. You know what I'm saying? You know, it could be from somebody, it can be from a movie you saw, it could be from a book you read, it can be from just your imagination. All right, all that stuff registers. So, in light of that, everyone needs to understand. Be careful with what you think. Be careful. Because anyway, during the search, Caleb and Abby, who were sleeping in the car, have an encounter with the beings who are the source of the whispers. Diane tells John that her mothers had always told her the date she would die. You hear it? Mother, i.e. matter. All right, and matter is concerned with what they call ether. And ether, i.e. ether, and Ethiopia or Ethiopia's means to incinerate or to burn or to shine. So the light must come through the darkness. The light shines in the darkness, but the darkness comprehends it not. Okay, so you don't comprehend the light that's in you. Or understand what the light is that's within you. He also visits Lucinda's teacher, who, despite showing signs of Alzheimer's disease, i.e. forgetfulness, tells him of the scratching on the door left by Lucinda. The next day, Abby colors in the sun on the engraving. You hear that? But the sun is the man sitting on the throne, i.e. New Minster Charter and New Minster Winchester and lieu of the Book of Life, because the purpose of the Book of Life is for that throne, i.e. God's throne, to come back, known as New Jerusalem, for those who will be taken to that crystal city of peace, i.e. paradise. All right? He rushes to the MIT observatory, which is an observatory which observes the stars, i.e. we know stars are made of what we call dark matter. So he should have known this, since he was working in the observatory, he's supposed to know this. That's why the movie was called Knowing. That's why the movie is actually called Knowing. All right? So it says, MIT Observatory and learns that the massive solar flare with the potential to destroy all life will strike the Earth on the last day indicated by a message, i.e. the day of judgment. You hear that? The day of judgment. Y'all should be getting scared right about now. As Diane and Abby prepared to take refuge in nearby caves, you notice in that movie, they tell everybody, find the caves, go deep as you can. Not saying that's going to save you. John goes to the school, i.e. elementary school. So in this school that you go to, in regards to trying to understand what's going on, they better be the elementary understanding that I'm giving you, because they understand elements in the Middle Ages, i.e. ether, in reference to us as dark-skinned Anglo-Saxons, because they know that those dark-skinned Anglo-Saxons were those angelic beings. Why? Because the angelic beings came to warn these two children, and they just happen to be white people. We know white is under the Citizenship Act of the Naturalist Act of 1790, didn't deal with any descent from God. It deal with a color of skin. And we know a color of skin, white, is still composed of matter, which is contrast to antimatter. And we know antimatter is composed of electromagnetic energy that is dangerous in the hands of what we call fools. All right? So let's check out these fools. It says the skeptical and hysterical Diane loads Caleb and Abby into her car and flees to the cave. At a gas station, and you know gas is a noble, right? You know, nobility is gas, right? We know that a station is where cars fill up, right? And we know not just here on Earth, but as well as the gas stations here on, as they assume out there outside of the planet Earth, all right? The whispering beings still Diana's car with Caleb and Abby inside, not outside, inside. Diane pursues them at high speeds in a stolen SUV, but is killed in a collision with a semi-truck on the day her mother predicted, i.e. matter. All things made of matter must come to an end. The being, because it said a new heaven and a new earth. So y'all hear me? A new heaven and a new earth. The beings take Caleb and Abby to Lucinda's mobile home, where John encounters them shortly thereafter. The beings acting as extraterrestrial angels. So these beings were acting as extraterrestrial angels. They weren't the extraterrestrial angels, but they was acting, as you see on TV, as extraterrestrial angels, meaning that they know they weren't those angels they should have been talking about. All right. So they said the beings acting as extraterrestrial angels, and you know they weren't those angels because all through this article, they never said extraterrestrial. They just referred to them as beings. They were just beings, all right, i.e. earthlings, posing as extraterrestrial angels, i.e. English people, and are leading the children to safety on an interstellar arc. You hear that? Interstellar arc. Interstellar arcs are ships, all right? We know Captain Kirk was on a spaceship, right? And Captain Kirk was outside this planet, and he didn't have no oxygen mask, as I said earlier. So that means that whatever form he was in had the ability to sustain himself outside of the normal atmosphere that human beings were subject to. So meaning that he himself was portraying an acting role that he was not able to participate in based off concrete proof. And I'm proving it. Why? Because it said in the movie that the beings acting as extraterrestrial angel, meaning something extra on this planet, all right? And took the people, or i.e. the children, i.e. more than one, to safety on interstellar arcs. Well, so what are the interstellar arcs? Let's look at that. An interstellar arc is not the same thing as a starship or starcraft or interstellar spacecraft. They never say arc. They're saying spacecraft. You know, when it says kingship, and as we've seen in the Ezekiel as well, the kingship was sitting on the throne inside the craft, which they called the sun. All right? How we know that? Let's prove it. Let's take the abstract and make it concrete. So here we see the abstract. Let's make it concrete in the Christianity. Christianity. Everybody see that? Christianity mysticism. You see the 4 beasts here, right? 4 beasts. Let's blow this up. All right. If everyone can see, on top of this ship, you have the fleur de lis. All right. You see the 4 beasts that's talked about in Ezekiel. All right. You also see Jesus holding up the peace sign with the book closed. This represents King Edgar the Peaceful. And as you can see behind him, he's in space. He's in space. You don't see no mountains. You don't see no birds flying. You don't see no clouds. All you see is stars. All right? Stars. Let's get another example. Henry III, King of England. Henry III, also known as Henry of Winchester. All right, did y'all hear that? Henry of Winchester. His father was John, King of England, and his mother was Isabella of Aquitaine, House Plantagenet crown. Okay, and we know Godfrey was the founder of the Plantagenet crown, son of Fulk, ruler of Jerusalem. But look at this picture. Okay, this is the throne of God, i.e., the chariot, and you see John. But look at the outside of the spaceship. You see nothing but stars. Nothing but stars. Right? They're inside the kingship, the king's ship. Once again, they're inside the king's ship. You must understand that, y'all. You must understand what's going on to take place in the transition out of here. Let's see. Let's go right here in closing. Kingship, spaceship. You are in a spaceship because you're moving through time and space, but you must dock with the mothership. All right, you must dock with the mothership. by uploading this information into the memory banks. All right, the computer, because you know, in order to get on that ship, you have to be beamed up, right? You have to be beamed up. When you notice when Captain Kirk is beaming up people, just anything ain't being beamed up. He say forward to beam up, two to beam up. Like you see in the movie, knowing two to beam up. All right. So if you're going to be beamed up to the mothership, then you must be on that registry, i.e., New Minster Book of Life. Because the book is still open, right? I control the closing of the book, or who or are considered to be subjects of the brides of Christ. Because in order to marry Christ, you have to be part of the bride of Christ, and the bride of Christ is what we call the church, i.e., the English Third Temple Church of England. That's what they're waiting for England to be built, the third temple. It's already built. It's already done. All right, so in closing, interstellar spaceship, starship. As you can see, the globe, and you see, as they trying to go where no one has gone before, to visit strange new worlds. Isn't that what they say in the movie Star Trek? Right? To go where no man has gone before. So that means they ain't never been there. So if they ain't never been there, how could you claim to come from there? All right? And if you ain't come from there, so how the hell you know where you're going? All right? So you just pretty much doing what you're doing now here. Venturing, conquest, and conquering. All right? So look, how you prove it. To travel between stars in reasonable time using rocket-like technology requires very high effective. Let me make sure you can see this. To travel beyond stars, it is reasonable time using rocket-like technology requires very high effective exhaust velocity, jet and enormous energy to power this, such as might be provided by fusion power or what they call antimatter. So apparently Captain Kirk had the ability in the movie Captain Kirk to use fusion power to do interstellar travel, right? He had that ability because what they say, warp speed. If they had it back then in the movies, according to Captain Kirk, then why are they having troubles going there now? But yet Captain Kirk was there. But yet Captain Kirk and his race were not considered part of those extraterrestrial beings who were considered part of that society that came from those angelic beings carrying the surname, i.e. the title of that nobility called Atheling. And Atheling were created by way of what we call Etherian under the term ether, as beings manifesting here on the plane that they may manifest as what they call dark matter, acting as a transmission medium to get back to where we originated from through uploading that through the electricity, i.e. circuit of the information that you receive by uploading it. All right? You ain't got to download nothing, just upload it because it's already here. It's a record. It's a memory bank. Because in order to get back or beam me up, Scotty, right? That's a Scottish name. The secrets that were held for you to beam up unto Captain Kirk is a Scottish name. Right? Captain Kirk is actually is a German word, but I'm pretty sure it's found in Scottish origin as well. All right. So understand what's being said to you. You may not want to believe it, but as I experienced through revelation, through what I call what they call seizures, and seizures are what they call out-of-body experiences, which I was subject to. Don't have a family, don't have a history of seizures in my family, All of a sudden I had a seizure, and all of a sudden this information started coming to me. All right. I forgot the stuff that I learned on this plane and remember all the stuff that I didn't know while on this plane about other planes that we are supposed to be going to in the future based off prophecy. All right. Based off prophecy. This is prophecy. Yes, it's prophetic, and as it said, as was written, so let it be done. Let me just make sure I covered everything before I close. Is that ringing in my ear? So in order for you to send home, you must understand your purpose while you're here, and your purpose while you're here is to ascend. That's your purpose here, to ascend. And you can only ascend based off the right teacher who is able to give you the ability to ascend. All right. In order to ascend, where else I want to go? In order to ascend, you must have the ability to jumpstart yourself, right? This is the electrical wire tree that I'm giving you to jumpstart your state of being at a dead state. I'm giving you the ability to jumpstart it, but it won't be at the hands of the colorful or de facto creator, but at the hands of the real creator by way of going back to your creation that were made by somebody which does not have physical hands. All right. Remember, once again, we're assumed to assume that the physical being is superior when he's limited. All right. The etheric you is not limited. You're not subject to the things that things or matter are subject to feel pain. All right. Hurt, emotion, etc. All right. Because emotion is a result of either energy in motion, i.e. E equals mc squared. That's what emotion is, energy in motion, i.e. the law of force. And the law of force is not discriminatory. All right. If you don't want to follow rules, that's on you. It's not discriminatory nor is it rational or irrational to inanimate and inanimate things. All right. So it's up to you to determine if you want to remain animate or inanimate. All right. And that's based off your animation. Do you want to animate as your ancestors did, based off their predecessors, or what they say you are, a beast? And with that, I say peace.